Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.
Welcome back to the show. We are so excited to have our friend from the north. Well, it depends where you live, but to me, she's from the north. Marketa joining us today. How are you?
Great. Thanks for having me back. It's exciting to have another fun conversation and hopefully we can help somebody to change their life and make a difference, right?
Which is what you do. Tell us, for those new time listeners out there, what you do specifically and how we can reach you.
Right. So specifically, I work with high achievers that are feeling that they're not at their best at the moment and they're just can't put their finger on what is going on. And so I help them to get the clarity they need and figure out what they really want, who they are at this very moment, and what helps them to live the life they want, being fulfilled, being great, being successful, etc. So that's what I help them with. And how they can reach me is at the best is to go on my website. That is marketahuzel.com. Let's spell it out, marketahuzel.com. And
Beautiful.
just drop me a note.
Awesome. Well, thank you for being here. And we're excited to talk more about Kaleidoscope of Life and all about transformation coaching and, of course, how anyone out there can benefit this. And, I've gotten to know you, in our last show, especially. And, it's great that you're here helping so many. And for today, I know you wanted to kind of talk about change and why is change so difficult for people?
Yes, I do, because as I said, who I help is those who maybe want to change or they just don't like what they're going through right now, right? So they're feeling unwell, they're feeling depleted energetically, they feel like they're setting goals, they can't meet them, they're feeling like they want to do something and they just don't know how, right? They're feeling exhausted, they don't know why, or why can't just keep up at the pace they were used to. And so that's where it all starts. Now, first step is to figure out, okay, and that's why I said, what do you want, right? Because the clarity is missing.
Yeah.
So that's the first step. And we talked about that a little bit last time, I believe.
Yeah.
And so now the question is, okay, well, when I figure out what I actually want and who am I today, right? What is my goal, where I want to go? Now, the next question is, well, why is it so difficult to change, right?
Why
And
is
so,
it? Yeah.
and so there are people who are struggling with change. And even let's say we are at the beginning of February, right, at this time of the recording. Doesn't matter when you listen to this episode or watch the video, doesn't matter. Then you think about, okay, why do 90% of New Year's resolutions fail within the first couple of weeks? Because people want to change and then they don't know how to sustain it. So then, you imagine you want to lose weight or you want to go to the gym or you want to eat healthier or you want to do something on a regular basis and you fail. Well, it's a change because you say, well, I want to do this, and then you can't sustain it. Why? Well, that's the answer to the question. We're getting there to why is change so difficult? And it's because people start changing behavior, and that is not enough because behaviors are on top of the pyramid. When I don't have the, well, I actually have the picture here, but for those who are listening, I can show it here on the
Sure.
camera. But
Yeah.
for those who are listening, they won't see that, right? So that's a pyramid that has behaviors almost at the top, and the very top is environment. That is behavior, and the behavior skills, then beliefs, identity, and source. So I'm just going to talk about people change behavior, which is just the surface of the pyramid, and all that is ingrained in them, the skills they have, the behaviors they are exhibiting, the belief system they have soaked in throughout their whole life, they don't change those, right? And that is why change is so difficult, because when you want to change, you have to go inside. You have to go deep inside to kind of peel all of the layers of the onion and figure out, well, who are you inside? If you're the person who never goes to the gym, why would you choose to go to the gym in the New Year's?
Yeah.
just because other people do it.
Yeah, right. You think that's what you have to do because everyone else is doing it. Do we feel like peer pressured in a sense? Possibly, yeah. Ah, interesting.
Yeah, right? Maybe. And you think you see it everywhere. People go to the gym that, they gain muscles and lose weight or whatever. But if it's not who you are, if you hate going to the gym, if it doesn't make you happy, why would
Prob-
you put yourself in an environment that is not you, right?
Wow.
There are
So
other ways
true.
to keep
Mm-hmm.
fit, right? So whether, I mean, now I'm looking outside, there's, about a meter of snow out there. So you can, for example, if you really want to get fit and you say, well, I need to do exercise. Well, why don't you go cross country skiing if that's something that appeals to you more? Why don't you go skating if it's, winter time, or go for a run and then exercise outside, or whatever that is that you feel like you can do that actually brings you joy while you're doing it. Because if you're not the person, right, who enjoys going to the gym, then you can't sustain the change. You can't build the habit of going, because every time you think about going to the gym, your eyes will roll and you'll just do whatever you can to avoid it,
Yeah.
right? And
Yeah.
that's how it's with everything in life. Whatever change you want to make, it starts inside and realizing, well, who are you as a person?
Mm-hmm.
And then the question is, who do you really want to be? And maybe you want to change and say, hey, I really want to be the person who goes to the gym. Okay, fine. It is possible, right? But then we have to
Mm-hmm.
look at, what do you need and who do you need to become, that this is actually you and not a picture of you that you think you need to be because somebody else tells you to be so, right?
Oh, yeah. Wow. Wow, wow,
Yeah.
wow. Great conversation. Thank you so much. We are on a roll today, as always. Marketa, thank you again for being here and for joining us. And I want people to also, we're talking today about change being difficult for a lot of us. And, I'm sure a lot of our fears that we struggle with, right? They're common. And I think we all have them. And, as you mentioned, yeah, why do we want to go to the gym? Why? I'm one of those people. And every year I try and I stop. I don't like it. And I'm just like, why don't we achieve it? Because we really don't want to do it. So interesting. So these are like traps, you say, right? That people kind of fall into.
Yeah.
Um, but you said there's other ways around it. So we don't have to fail at what you want, but there's other ways to get it. Can you kind of explain that?
Yeah, there are things about, well, first is to realize, okay, what do you want and what do you want to achieve? And then looking around to, okay, what are the creative ways you can achieve the goal you want? And it can be simply brainstorming exercise, right? That may take a couple of minutes or maybe a couple of weeks to say, okay, what are the other ways? Or looking at other people. How can other people achieve same result with different ways? It's just being creative. It's being resourceful, right? It's being open-minded. It's being curious to see what else is out there and how else we can approach the situation or the problem or the challenge or the dream we have to, make it reality.
Well, thank you for helping so many people. And I know last time we spoke about some of the amazing people you've worked with and all the great things they say about working with you, because that's part of it. And you always want to, hear what people have to say. Clearly, you're helping so many reinvent in a sense. And go to the website again. Let me spell her name for Kaleidoscope of Life. It's under her name, Marketa Huzel. And we go to the website like I did earlier, and I pulled it up just now again. Yep. You'll discover how to find that inner peace and energy so you could thrive, present, and happy self without compromising your work and family life. And, we talked about some success stories already. Anything that resonates for today's conversation of someone that you've worked with?
Definitely. There are, many clients who just trying to figure out what it is that makes them happy,
Mm-hmm.
right? And what it is that they need to do differently or be that they realize they need to be different people. But they always ask, what do I need to do differently to feel like I want to feel, right? But it's generally the fulfillment and the inner peace. And so it sounds so generic and so far away. And some people at the beginning can't even, they start working with me, they can't even realize that that's what they're looking for, right? They say, well, I want to be more confident, or I want to be more
Yeah.
self-assured, or whatever that
Mm-hmm.
is. But then it's, okay, well, actually, I want to have a peace of mind. And then, we realize that is what drives us, because we don't want to be guilty. We don't want to be torn apart. We don't want to be stretched to the max. We don't want
Yeah.
to be exhausted, right? All these things that there is a need behind it. There's a driver behind it that they can't identify at the beginning. And once we realize and take them apart beautifully to say, hey, well, this is actually what you want, and this is how you want to feel. And what they want to
Mm-hmm.
feel is the peace of mind. It's that, um, obviously, there will always be some kind of problems, right? Life is not just, you know, walking through a rose garden, right? It is, they are presented with challenges, but knowing in the
Yeah.
bigger picture, okay, what is it we want?
Yeah.
What's driving us, and what do we need to do to get there and to sustain it?
Yep. Yep.
Yeah.
Oh my
And
goodness. Well, oh, go ahead.
yeah, and so when we talk about the energy, I realized that, I mean, we had the conversations about, how we got to have our kids, right?
Yes.
And
Yes.
so I realized after, like, how important it is to have the energy, and how important it is to be true to your values and understanding what you want, because you just can't split yourself in half. You want to satisfy work and career and family and kids and your free time, and like, how does it all fit, right, in our lives? And so then I realized how important it is to have the energy. And working on energy management is another piece of the puzzle to say, hey, how can I sustain all this? Like, I'm not a superwoman, right? I'm not a superhero, but I need to understand where my energy goes, and where do I take energy from, so I can balance it properly and I can do what I want to do. And that gives me the peace of, okay, well, I've done what I could. I just can't do any better at this moment, but maybe there are tricks and hacks, like the food and the exercise and the relationships, right? Everything contributes to the overall well-being.
Oh, absolutely, it does. And as a mom, as a coach, as a woman, I mean, we do a lot, right? And yeah, that's a whole nother show um, about the trials and tribulations of parenting, right? And what that means to you. And things do become harder,
Yeah.
and change is one of those things that definitely become different and harder, right after you have kids, or even trying to have kids. Things just change your life, and
Yeah.
it's always good
Yeah.
to have someone in your corner who has kind of walked the walk, who've been through a lot of things. And can I just ask, for those new timers out there listening, would you mind sharing just a little of your background?
Sure, I don't at all. I mean, I came from Europe. I'm originally from the Czech Republic, and then, had experiences around the world, just because I was curious, and traveled and stayed in some countries for a little while to see how people live differently, and obviously learned a lot of things. And then when I met my husband um, in Prague, he's from Canada, so we moved to Canada, or he moved back to Canada, and I followed a couple of years later. So it's been many years since I've been here, and I worked for international corporation in human resources, and I absolutely love my job. I love the environment. I love the challenges, all that stuff. But then what happened is, when we were trying to have a baby, it was more difficult than we ever imagined, and we got into the discoveries of fertility, and realized that we needed some extra help. And so we went through IVF and had our first, which was absolutely delightful. But also we thought, it worked out fine. So why can we do this on repeat? And then it didn't work out the way we planned. And that cost me, or us, both of us, a lot of struggles. And we realized that we have to accept some things as they are, and we can't control everything all the time. And,
Yeah.
that ended resulted into um, I think my inner turmoil about, okay, what is important in life? And, is it really the career I was going after? But, it wasn't a bad thing. It had its own purpose and it had its own time. And it brought us lots of things, and we could develop a lot of, safety measures in our life. So it was great. But then again, things happened and my values and my outlooks changed. And so I, had to deal with them myself and found a way to figure this out. And then I realized, well, there must be more people than me doing and dealing with things like I do. So that's how I got into coaching officially and started studying coaching approaches and
Yeah.
more psychology, because I am a teacher by degree. So psychology was
Yeah.
always my favorite subject.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, so that's how I got there. And then luckily, when that kind of not having more babies was put on the back burner, suddenly our second child came, which was
Yeah.
absolutely wonderful experience, having both the medical help and the natural miracles. So we've been there and we've seen it. Well, I don't want to say all because we haven't, but hey, experiences definitely help. And when I see other people going through their changes, their challenges, obviously it helps to have more diverse background.
Beautifully said. Thank you so much for sharing that. And if you want to work with her, you can reach out right there on the website and scroll through. I recommend reading some testimonials and so many success stories. And I think it's a beautiful, beautiful thing that you do. And you're just very compassionate, and you're helping so many people with this. The 12, was it the 12 sessions? The three R's. That's what
Yeah,
it
I
was.
can
Yeah,
only
the three
recommend
R's.
the
I'm trying to remember. We
five
talked
hours.
about them.
Yeah, 5 hours.
Oh,
5 hours.
see, I
Yeah.
can't remember, but yes. What are the five R's?
Yeah, so the 5 R's are that's a framework that I developed based on my experience with not just my transformation, but how I actually work with clients and seeing what I'm actually doing with them. So it helps them to go through this change process and self-discovery. So the 5 R's stand for, the first one is recognize who you are, right?
Okay.
In the first place, knowing where you're at today, because we are changing as we go through life. So we definitely are not who we were 10 years ago. And life gets busy, let's be honest, and we forget. We just run on autopilot and we forget who we are because we just do our things. And then something's off and we don't know why. So that is why, realize, recognize who you are. Second one is stands for release. Release
Mm-hmm.
what's no longer serving you. And that is about, we all have something that we need to let go of in order for us to move forward. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
there's the saying that one door has to close in order for the other one to open, right? So it's similar, but a bit different, because we need to realize what is it that's holding us back. And from my
Mm-hmm.
experience, clients always think, well, what is that I have? Like, I don't know. We'll have to figure it out. And when we have conversations, they realize things they've been proud of for so long, they have to let
Mm-hmm.
them go. And those they don't have to be bad things. They're
Mm-hmm.
just not serving them anymore and holding them back. So that's the second R. The third one is reinvent who you are and see who you want to be and what is important to you at this stage of your life, right?
Mm-hmm.
So that's the part of that's news. Like, oh, I didn't know I was here, or I didn't know that really this was that important to me. The third
Mm-hmm.
one, or fourth one, is to restart. Start planning the life the way you want it, right? Putting these new steps and start changing from the inside out, putting all that in place. And then the fifth one is to reflect. Reflect on the journey, because as you said, I work with clients preferably starting with 12 weeks, because peeling all the layers of onions takes some time. So we've been,
Yeah.
I mean, I've got clients from 20 something to 70 something years old. So the whole spectrum. So some have been in this world for a couple decades, but some for a little bit more. And so talking about belief systems, value systems, and habits and all the programming in their brains, what they have,
Mm-hmm.
it took a while. And so they can't expect that it's going to change within an hour,
Okay.
and then we can sometimes
Yep.
we can sometimes argue about hypnosis and how that works. And I use some hypnotic language or whatever too in my
Yes,
coaching. And I'm
of
not a
course.
hypnotist, but there are some quick ways to do things very quickly and efficiently. But also some things do need some time, right? And I am not the one who creates a dependency on me. I am the one who wants my clients to learn, change, and go, right? So they are independent, they can go and thrive again. And so I can just pump them up and see them fly, right?
Yeah.
So that's my goal. And I do start with those 12 sessions because I say, hey, we need time to process things. We need to go in the past and see what has been done and how your life has been impacted. And then we look into the present and future. And once we start creating these things, we need to process some stuff that is happening in their minds and in their hearts too, right? Because it's not always easy. I mean, people get divorced and people fall in love again and
Yeah.
people change
Mm-hmm.
jobs and there are all sorts of changes that can happen. So that just takes time. And then it's generally their decision what they want to do. And most of them decide to kind of keep working on themselves and progressing and pushing themselves forward with a little bit of help of mine, which is fabulous because it's always exciting to see the progress, but it's also bittersweet to let them go. And then it's like, yeah, well, they're on their own,
Yeah.
right? Just like birds flying out of their nest. So that's how
Yeah.
I see the relationship I have in my clients.
Oh, I love hearing that.
Yeah.
And we still got 3 minutes left in the show to continue our discussion, which, by the way, if you are just tuning in, you missed it, you're going to have to rewatch, re-listen. But we were talking about change today and how hard that is. And I got to ask, did you make a New Year's resolution or are you not a New Year's resolution person?
Good question, Joe. I am not a really New Year's resolution person. It's always about intention and setting kind of the intention for the year. And there's a little bit of a difference between the resolution and the intention because resolution is kind of this is what I want to do, and it looks into the behavior change that we opened up this conversation with, and that if it's not you, it's gonna be hard to sustain, right?
So true.
So that intention, I do set intention. And it's another reason why we are having this conversation because it was one of my intentions this year to, talk to people a little bit more and be more out there. So here we are. But the intention is more about being the person who you want to be and take the little steps towards it.
Yeah. Beautiful
Then just
said.
say, yeah, go and do X, and then you can't. Like you have to give yourself a little bit of grace too, and understanding why you're not fulfilling your resolutions. So resolutions are not my thing, but intentions definitely are.
Beautiful. Well, thank you so much again for being here, for joining us and chatting with us in our last few minutes together. I just wanted to make sure we covered everything that you think is important for us today, for everyone as well.
Yeah, I think so. I think that if people want to look at making a change or changing themselves, I think it's important to have a couple things in mind. First one is, okay, think about why you want the change. Why is it important to you specifically? What is holding you back not
Mm-hmm.
to go through the process? Or maybe in the past you have tried things that they didn't work. And then you don't need to know
Yeah,
why exactly, but then get the support, right? Don't do it on your own because you don't know what you don't know. And
I
then the
know.
only thing you know is that it didn't work in the past. So you know that you need to do something differently. And getting some support is going to help you because you'll get different perspectives. You're going to get some help. You also can get some accountability, right? Because some people, let's be honest, they're more accountable to other people to them than to themselves.
Yeah,
And
true.
we are more likely to fulfill, you go to work because you're supposed to go to work, right? But
Yeah,
because
true.
some people don't go to work just because they just want to,
Mm-hmm.
right? They want the paycheck. They want something in return. And so when you think about change, you need some accountability too. And being in an environment that supports your transformation is extremely important, because if people don't believe, like, don't believe in you, well, that's not helpful. But
Yeah,
you really want it.
of
And so how
course.
can you change when people around you don't support your vision,
Ooh, it's a hard one.
right?
I know. Yep. We got to be
That
around more supportive
right.
people.
So
Yep.
you have to be, and starting with getting yourself one person who is your cheerleader, who will support you in the process, right? It's whether it's me or somebody else, doesn't matter. But it's just
Hmm.
that person that resonates with you and you resonate with that person that can help you transform is important. And then there was one last one, is make it fun, right? Because if you don't have fun and it's a drag, it's not gonna last. So it has to be fun in some ways. And then again, it's a creative process to figure out
Yeah.
what does fun mean to you, because it's going to be different fun for every person, right?
Yeah.
So
Well,
it has to be fun in order to sustain the transformation. I always tell my clients when they're starting, it's like, well, it's going to be super fun,
it's like,
but
what?
it's going to
Yeah.
be scary too.
Well, thank
you
you so
know?
much. No, pleasure having you back. One more time, just tell us the website. We are unfortunately out of time.
That's all good. So website again, marketahuzel.com, marketahuzel.com. And also, if you want to touch base with me on LinkedIn, you are more than welcome to as well. And I would appreciate, I mean, if if you reach out, just let me know how you found me. It would be great.
Perfect. Thank you so much. Have a fantastic day, Marketa. We'll
Thank
chat
you, Jill.
soon. Thank you. Bye bye.
Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.